Well, I'm knocking on the door, nobody coming. The lights off upstairs. He opened the door. The first thing I asked, who is he? She's like, no, he just here for the kids. He babysitting the kids. He was cleaning up my house.
How close to that timeline did you sleep with your ex?
It was around the same time.
Really?
But, Your Honor, it was protected, but the protection did break.
Are you serious?
What do you know about this?
Mr. Hill, you need to be ashamed of yourself. You, are you blind, Chris? Your other children do not look like you.
Tell me why ESPN was playing in her room with messed up sheets, Your Honor. She don't know. She don't watch basketball. She never watched basketball. Can you even name an NBA player besides LeBron James?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
You need to have them on paternity court back in front of this judge, because he looks like you, they don't. I know what you are doing to my grandchild. It's not about you, it's about my grandchild.
Exactly.
Are you crazy?
If she would have let him stop.
Are you crazy?
Okay, buckle up because this case is starting off wild already. The case of Williams versus Scales kicks off with Elisa Williams, explaining that 5 years ago, Bernard Scales, the guy she's been calling dad for her whole life, suddenly dropped a truth bomb. Her mom cheated on him, and she might not even be his daughter. Now, Elisa and her sister Tonga are here to prove Bernard wrong.
Ms. Williams, 5 years ago, the defendant, who you believed was your father, revealed a shocking family secret, that your mother cheated. And you are not his daughter. You and your sister are in court to prove him wrong.
You think things are crazy already? Just wait. Bernard tells the court about this time in 1983, when he took Elisa's mom to one of his away games, and in the middle of the night, wakes up to find her gone. He's suspicious right away, thinking, what is going on? Because she was gone for at least an hour or two. But wait until you hear Elisa's reaction to this tale.
1983, we had an away game in Pensacola, and I took Miss Williams with me. We checked into a hotel. I went to bed early because I worked that day, and it was a Friday. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, and Miss Williams is no longer in the room. I can't say exactly how long, but I know it was at least an hour or two.
You believed at that moment that something was going on.
For sure.
Can you imagine your dad telling you something like this out of nowhere? Elisa talks about how much it hurt to learn at 27 years old that her dad might not actually be her dad. She says it hit her like a truck at a time when she was just trying to figure out life, and it was super hard to deal with. But hold tight, Bernard's about to try to explain why he waited so long to drop this bomb.
I was 27 at the time. When I spoke with my mom, she had talked to him about the fact that he was questioning paternity of me. He told me that there were some events that he didn't really feel the need to discuss with me at the time, that it was a discussion that she wasn't supposed to share with me. I spoke with my mom about it later, and she gave me more details, what actually had occurred.
Okay, get this. Bernard's explanation for keeping this a secret is next level. Bernard says he didn't tell Elisa earlier because he wanted to protect her from ever questioning who her dad was. He thought it was better for her not to know, but now that she's older and it's important for health reasons, felt like he had to come clean. You won't believe how Elisa reacts to this reasoning. It's about to get heated.
The reason I didn't say anything is because I wanted to give this child a gift, was not having to come to earth and question who her father was.
Well, that wasn't fair for me to have to question that at 27 years old.
I'm your parent, I'm not your friend. I wanted to tell you at 27 because it's important for medical reasons that I'd let you know there's a question with your paternity.
Now things are really getting spicy. Elisa confronts Bernard, asking why, if he had doubts, he even signed her birth certificate. Bernard fires back saying, hold up, I never signed it. And suddenly things get way more awkward. And just when you think it can't get crazier, Elisa's mom enters the courtroom, and you know that's going to shake things up even more.
Why would you sign my birth certificate if you felt like you were not my biological father?
I've never signed your birth certificate, Elisa.
She's presented to the court her birth certificate. You're listed as father.
I could be listed as father, but I never signed it.
At that point, did you have a question of her paternity, meaning I could be this child's father, but I might not?
Everything in me feels like I'm his daughter.
If you thought the drama was already at its peak, just wait for this. Elisa and Tonga's mom walks in and immediately calls Bernard a liar. She admits that, yes, she had an affair with one of his teammates, but it wasn't until after Tonga was born, not Elisa. Her confession just sets the stage for more chaos, and Bernard's response is gonna blow your mind.
Do you believe Mr. Scales has any reason to doubt that Elisa is his biological daughter?
It's no reason. If he was gonna doubt a child, he should doubt Tanja. I had the affair. with the person in question. When I met
I
the
rest my
person
case, Your Honor.
in question, I didn't even have any kids from him.
You did have an affair.
I didn't have relations.
Just when you think you've heard it all, Bernard drops another surprise on everyone. He admits that back in 1983, when Elisa's mom was possibly cheating, he wasn't exactly innocent either. He had been messing around too. So not only were there doubts about Elisa's paternity, but Bernard was also living his own soap opera. And now the DNA results for Tonga are finally in, so get ready for the truth bomb.
The point is, the event that occurred in 1983, did it happen? Who were you with that night?
Like I said, the time in question, I don't know what happened in 83 because I was doing my own thing in 83. The affair probably started maybe a couple of weeks after. It lasts a very short time.
All right, here's where it gets good, y'all.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Scales, you are her father.
Wow, this whole thing kicked off with some serious drama. Ms. Clary steps up to tell the court that she needs a paternity test to prove that Mr. Asinato is her son Gage's dad. Gage has all these medical problems, and she says Mr. Asinato owes her $15,000 in child support. But wait, Mr. Asinato isn't having it and brought some bombshell evidence to say he's not the dad. Oh, you're not gonna believe what comes next.
Miss Clary, you are petitioning the court for a paternity test to prove to the defendant that he is the father of your son Gage. Say, Mr. Asinato owes you $15,000 in child support, and you demand he pays you what he owes. Now, Mr. Asinato, you say there's no reason to pay any money for a child that you know is not yours.
Okay, this is where things start getting kind of wild. Mr. Asinato admits he signed Gage's birth certificate, but he says Ms. Clary tricked him into it, making him think he was the only possible dad. He even says now that their relationship was all over the place, and he doesn't want to pay $15,000 for a kid he swears isn't his. Trust me, this story gets messier from here, so get ready.
No way that I owe $15,000 on a child that's not mine.
He signed the birth certificate.
She's basically roped me into signing a birth certificate for a child that she told me that was mine, has taken me to court for child support. I've paid almost $15,000 in child support.
But you said you signed the birth certificate.
I did sign the birth certificate. She made me believe that the child was mine.
And now it's about to get really interesting. Ms. Clary throws out a curveball, saying Gage has thalassemia, a genetic blood disorder, and guess what? It usually comes from people with Mediterranean descent, which lines up with Mr. Asinato being Italian. The courtroom starts buzzing because this might mean something big, but just when you think it makes sense, things are about to flip again.
My son has thalassemia, which is a medical condition that comes from Italian. It's it's a genetic blood disorder, and it comes from people of the Mediterranean.
You brought evidence to explain that.
And this is what I do.
Thalassemia.
We're fighting, all of a sudden my son's not his. When we're getting along, he loves his son, that's his son. It's when we're not getting along or the child support. That's the whole issue is child support.
Get ready for some unexpected feelings here. Despite all the drama, Mr. Asinato admits he's super close to Gage and even calls him my little man, which is pretty sweet. Then he gets worried, thinking about if Gage ever needed something like an organ or blood, and if he's not the real dad, what would happen? But don't worry, because the surprises aren't done yet, and it's about to get even crazier.
Oh, I love him. He's my little man.
Then why are we
Do
here?
anything for him. I'm here because if that child gets sick and he needs something, organ or blood or whatever, I'm not his biological
You are
father.
his biological father.
His biological
Your
father
own
needs
mother,
to
when he
stand
was
up. He
first
needs to
born,
know
said
who
he
his
looked just
biological
like you.
father is.
Then whenever he was
And
a
if
couple
something
weeks old,
happens to him, he needs something, we need to know where to go get that.
he tells me constantly, he's not my son.
Okay, here comes the moment we've all been waiting for, and it's totally jaw-dropping. The DNA results are finally read, and guess what?
When it comes to 4-year-old Gage Asinato, Mr. Asinato, you are not his father.
I did not sleep with anyone else. I slept with somebody 2 months prior.
Ms. Valentine kicks things off by saying Mr. Jordan is the dad of her 3.5-month-old son, Michael Jordan. But here's where things get spicy. He claims Mr. Jordan only denied being the father after she started dating other guys. Mr. Jordan isn't having it though, and he's got a whole different story, saying he found a text from another dude that made him think the baby isn't his.
Ms. Valentine, you are here to prove your 3.5-month-old son, Michael Jordan, is the defendant's biological child. You claim Mr. Jordan did not deny your son until you moved on and began dating other men.
Ms. Valentine goes on to talk about how she likes her men, but not just any kind of guy. She likes her men with a dash of ugly. Yep, you heard that right. She explains that Mr. Jordan fit the bill perfectly, handsome with just a sprinkle of that rough around the edges look she's into. The judge and audience crack up at this new phrase, and honestly, so will you.
So, you know, I like my man, I like him with a dash of ugly and stuff, and it's like, he fit the description, because he had a beautiful, but he had a little dash of ugly. that I like.
Wait, you like your men with a dash of ugly?
Yes.
Ugly.
It's only a dash. He's still a very handsome man, and he has a very beautiful smile, but he still has a dash of ugly. He has a dash of ugly.
Okay.
He's very handsome.
Turns out, this so-called one-night stand between Ms. Valentine and Mr. Jordan wasn't so one-night-ish after all. They ended up hanging out more and more, and soon enough, protection went out the window, which always brings trouble. Am I right? They start arguing about how things went down, with Ms. Valentine saying one thing and Mr. Jordan swearing on another.
We had sex a lot more. We started hanging out some. He came over one night, and he was eating my. Then we did have unprotected sex that same night.
She lying. She lying for a fact. That is not true, Your Honor. You really gonna lie like that?
Oh, you want to say that I'm
really
lying?
gonna lie like that?
You want to say that I'm lying?
Never had
Just
that ever
let it go.
happen.
It happened
You
on
wish you
several
did.
occasions.
That's what happened. You wish you did.
It happened on several
Yes, and you wish
occasions.
you-
It happened on several
In the court!
Mr. Jordan tells this wild story about showing up at Ms. Valentine's house one night and finding another man there. To make things even weirder, ESPN is playing in her room, and the bed looks, well, not exactly freshly made. Mr. Jordan's not buying the idea that this random guy was just there to babysit the kids. The back and forth between them is so intense, it feels like we're watching an episode of a soap opera.
Well, I'm knocking on the door, nobody coming. The lights off upstairs. He opened the door. The first thing I asked, who is he? She's like, no, he just here for the kids. He babysitting the kids. He was cleaning up my house. Tell me why ESPN was playing in her room with messed up sheets, Your Honor. She don't watch basketball. She never watched basketball. Can you even name an NBA player besides LeBron James?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
So Mr. Jordan's got this whole theory about a guy called Pizza King. Apparently, he found texts from a man Ms. Valentine was chatting with, and she saved him in her phone as Pizza King. Sounds funny, right? But Mr. Jordan thinks it's shady business, and the accusations fly. Ms. Valentine tries to brush it off like it's no big deal, but you can tell the tension is real.
Who is Pizza King?
And I didn't talk to him except for the beginning, before I met you, before we even started really talking like that. And why are you bringing his social media up? Because that's his social media. You don't even know his name.
That's the name you gave him.
What do you mean? That was not social media. That wasn't even text messages.
No, that was.
Who is Pizza King?
I don't know. I never found out Pizza King.
I don't even know. I never met him
She like
in
at the
person.
restaurant texting me.
Finally, the judge reveals the results of the DNA test.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Jordan, you are the father.
This was already wild right from the start. Miss Gates tells the court that her son, on his deathbed, told her he wasn't the biological father of Miss Rembold's kids. She's here to prove it with a DNA test to defend his honor. The drama between these two women is intense, and it's just getting started. Things are about to get even more complicated, so get ready.
Ms. Gates, you claim that the day before your son's tragic death, he told you what you have always believed. He was not the biological father of the defendant's 3-year-old daughter, Alexis, and 16-month-old son, Nicholas. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to defend his honor.
Miss Rembold just casually drops that their relationship was a mess, and it's kind of shocking how chill she is about it. She admits that Mr. Gates had doubts about Alexis being his daughter, and would sometimes tell her to find Alexis's real dad when they fought. That's gotta be awkward, right? But wait, she's got more jaw-dropping stories coming up that you won't believe.
Yes, there was some doubt, Mr. Gates, with Alexis. If we would argue, he would say, go find your daughter's father. Nicholas had found out I was pregnant. He told me he would not be able to live with knowing I was pregnant with another man's baby. And then right before Mr. Gates had passed away, Mr. Gates had told me that he felt in his heart that Nicholas was his child.
It's not what he told me. The complete opposite the day before he passed away.
Okay, now this is where things get super awkward. Miss Rembold reveals that she slept with her ex during a breakup, but guess what? The condom broke. Yeah, that's a plot twist no one saw coming. And now there's even more doubt about Alexis's father. But hold on, the next part is even crazier when she starts talking about juggling 2 men.
How close to that timeline did you sleep with your ex?
It was around the same time.
Really?
But, Your Honor, it was protected, but the protection did break.
Are you serious? I didn't even know that.
If the condom break, you've basically exposed yourself.
I had ran into the other gentleman that could have possibly been Alexis's father.
If you thought it couldn't get any wilder, you were wrong. Miss Rembold casually admits she slept with both Mr. Gates and another guy on the same day. Yup, that happened. Now, we're all left wondering who Nicholas's dad really is. You'll be on the edge of your seat when the DNA results finally come in.
I would even have Mr. Gates and the other man that I was having sexual intercourse with both staying in the same house together.
Really?
My son loved her so much that he would watch the kids knowing she'd be going out with this man.
So you moved this guy into the house with you and Mr. Gates?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, the moment everyone was waiting for, Alexis's DNA results.
And the results of that siblingship test showed with a 99.99995% that Alexis and Nicholas do indeed share the same biological father.
Now, okay, so this is where things start getting pretty crazy. Mr. Deggs says that little Jason is the most important thing in his whole life. He's really hoping the paternity test proves he's the dad, even though Ms. Guerin dropped the bomb 6 months after the baby was born that, hey, maybe he's not. The tension's just warming up, and it's about to get way messier.
Mr. Deggs, you are here today hoping you are the biological father of the defendant's 3-year-old son, Jason. You have petitioned the court for a paternity test because you claim your ex, Ms. Guerin, first led you to believe that you were Jason's dad. When the baby was 6 months old, she confessed that you may not be the biological father.
And here's where your jaw is probably going to hit the floor. Mr. Deggs reveals that not one, but 2 of the closest people to him, his best friend and his brother, both hooked up with Ms. Guerin. The audience gasps, like, for real, and you can just feel the awkwardness. Ms. Guerin owns up to it, saying she felt ignored by Mr. Deggs at the time. And believe it or not, Mr. Deggs didn't just walk away. Wait until you hear what he does next.
At the time, we were moving out of my best friend's apartment, and it was just about that I got the truck loaded up with everything, and my best friend at the time pulled me aside and told me him and my brother had both slept with me.
What?
He cheated in the very beginning of our relationship. It was even before we were months.
Boy, before you get to what he did, I want to know, is it true?
Yes, it is true.
Things are already super tense, and the judge has to step in before this totally explodes. She's like, let's keep it respectful after Mr. Deggs and Ms. Guerin start going at each other, name-calling and all. But here's the kicker. Even though Ms. Guerin cheated with 2 people close to him, Mr. Deggs says he stayed because he loved her. Spoiler, the story's about to get even wilder when we hear about the baby's birth.
So, after he slept with... All right, you two might not know how to respect each other outside of the courtroom, but in this courtroom, we must remain respectful.
Yes, Your Honor. I loved her that much that I wanted to work on it again.
Wow.
Because I loved her that much.
Get ready for the feels, because this part is pretty heartbreaking. Mr. Deggs tells the court he was there when Jason was born. He even cut the cord, thinking he was the dad. He had no idea there was any doubt about him being Jason's father until 6 months later, when Ms. Guerin casually drops that little detail during an argument. And oh man, it's about to get even worse for Mr. Deggs.
When you give birth to the child?
Yes, he was there.
I cut cord. I've been there since day one, taking care of this baby and this woman. Your Honor, I was there. And then she has the nerve to wait.
Mr. Deggs, you thought this child was yours.
Something.
Yes, Your Honor, I sure did.
No doubts in your mind. You're going on about your life.
Ready
with
to get
your
my
new
family
baby.
established.
Here we go, the moment of truth, and it's not looking good. The DNA test results are in.
In the case of Deggs versus Guerin, when it comes to baby Jason Deggs, Mr. Deggs, you are not the father.
And that's for the best. Honestly, it's for the best.
Okay, right off the bat, this case is a total mess. Mr. Hill is in court asking for a DNA test for Miss Harris's 18-year-old son, Tammond, even though he's been paying $50,000 in child support. He's been doubting if Tammond is really his, while Miss Harris is like, nah, they look exactly the same. After years of asking, the court finally agreed to do the test. And trust me, things are just getting started. Wait till you hear why Mr. Hill has doubts.
Mr. Hill, you have petitioned the court for years to get a DNA test on Miss Harris's 18-year-old son, Tammond, because you've paid more than $50,000 in child support, but you're not certain he's your child. Your previous petitions were denied, but there is now reasonable doubt testing has been ordered.
This part is totally wild. Mr. Hill throws down some serious accusations here. He says his doubts come from the fact that Miss Harris straight up told him she slept with another dude while they were together. Not only that, but this guy even tried to fight Mr. Hill, making him question if he's the dad. Miss Harris fires back, calling him a liar, like nope, didn't happen. Stick around though, because Mr. Hill's got more drama to spill.
Basically, she had sexual intercourse with somebody else.
Excuse me,
all right.
Your Honor. He's a liar.
a total liar. I've never been with anyone in the 3 years that we were together.
Why would he manufacture these doubts?
Because the alleged claim person that I supposed to slept with, he was my friend. My mother knows him and everything.
Okay, now things go from dramatic to straight up bonkers. Mr. Hill says this mystery guy actually tried to fight him in the street and even claimed he was Taman's real dad. You can imagine the courtroom's reaction to this one. Miss Harris just laughs it off like it's no big deal. But trust me, things are gonna heat up even more once we dive into the whole child support issue.
I was walking down the street with her. The young man in question, the other potential father, he tried to have a fight with me. I didn't know this man from not one time, never met him before, never
So
seen
you
him
knew
before.
there was another potential father?
She told me that the young man that she had sex with, that's what she told me. A few minutes. Because she told me, because that's why I'm thinking that Tamanda's not mine.
The situation keeps getting crazier. Now, we're talking about thousands of dollars and a disappearing dad. Mr. Hill admits he's been shelling out cash in child support, but didn't see much of Tamand after 8th grade. Miss Harris isn't having it though, accusing him of being a total absentee father who just paid money but never showed up. And now, just when you think it couldn't get any more intense, here comes Miss Harris's mom to take things up a notch.
And you signed the birth certificate.
Yes, I did.
And you end up paying child support.
Yes, I was young and dumb, basically. I paid over $50,000 in child support, not knowing what to do, who to talk to, she's nowhere to be found. When we go to different child support, I used to pay $300, maybe $400 every 2 weeks in child support. She never showed up. I tried to get a DNA test.
Oh man, you know things are serious when the mom jumps in. Miss Harris's mother is not holding back. Regina Holmes goes after Mr. Hill, saying he should be ashamed for not being there for Tamand. She also calls him out for being blind to the fact that Tamand looks just like him, which, according to her, should have been obvious this whole time. The plot thickens, but brace yourself for what Tamand's about to say. Things are about to get real emotional.
What do you know about this?
Mr. Hill, you need to be ashamed of yourself. You! Are you blind, Chris? Your other children do not look like you. You need to have them on paternity court back in front of this judge, because he looks like you, they don't. I know what you are doing to my grandchild. It's not about you, it's about my grandchild.
Exactly.
Are you crazy?
If she would have let him stop.
Are you crazy?
If you weren't already feeling the drama, this part is going to hit you in the feels. Tamand talks about how tough it's been growing up without a dad and how it made him feel when he saw other kids with their fathers. He doesn't remember having any kind of real relationship with Mr. Hill, which clearly stinks. Just wait till Judge Lake calls out Mr. Hill for how he handled things. This whole thing's about to blow up even more.
I known this my father my whole life. I never knew anything about no DNA tests, nothing else, nothing.
And did you have a relationship with your father?
Not that I remember. Made me feel kind of bad because I see everybody else with their father and I don't.
It's all right, babe. Take your time. You said everybody else had a father.
And I just feel like he should be there. He should have been there my whole life. I should remember him through my life, and I don't.
You thought things were wild before? Wait till you hear about this next part. It's a real facepalm moment. Judge Lake calls out Mr. Hill for sending an angry, pretty childish message to his son. Mr. Hill tries to explain he was hurt because Tamand didn't want to hang out with him. But the judge is like, dude, you're the grown-up here. But don't go anywhere, because we're finally getting to the moment of truth. Those DNA results are coming.
But this message was a little angry. It was a little petty. As we talk about money, if we really want to be honest, you've requested and said to this court, if he's not your biological child, you want to go back to your home state.
No, it ain't. Let me tell you something. It's not no money about me, because I work every day. I work over maybe like 50 hours every week.
Here it is, the big moment we've all been waiting for. And oh boy, it does not disappoint. The DNA results come back, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Hill, you are his father. You did have a relationship with their father. Did you know he was married?
Yes, Your Honor. He told me he was married.
We didn't have the money. Like, my mom was doing everything by herself. It's ridiculous. Like, I may be 22 now, just like everybody else. Everybody else wants to know who their dad is. It shouldn't matter because I'm 22.
Ms. DeVos, you write back, he's not your son. So as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. DeVos, you respond, you're not his father. You ruined your own life.
Why would you still mess with a married man? Why would you do that?
You know, and there was this like sleeping behind with a married man, and why would you do such a thing as being a woman?
My mom's being a mom, and she's trying to figure this out. So these men just need to step up and help her out. She can't do it by herself. She can't. It's impossible.
You cold-blooded because you told him he was the biological father.
Yes, I did. He had the option if he wanted to be there or not. I didn't.
Okay, this part was pretty crazy. Ms. Smith finds out that Malachi might be her nephew, but for the longest time, she had no clue. She talks about how she's cool with it now. Like, if this is her brother's kid, she's not gonna push him away. She wants to love on him and get to know him, even though it's all new. Things are starting to get real interesting, and it's clear she's all in to build this new family connection.
What was the explanation?
She just said she had a lot going on and she didn't want to really get into it.
And so at that point, did you just accept?
I accept him because, I mean, if this could be my brother's baby, I don't want to push him away. That's just the type of person that I am. I mean, if this is my brother's child, I want to get to know him. I want to take him in. I want to love on him.
This one's just straight up shocking. Miss Smith, the grandma, admits she literally met Malachi for the first time the day before. Yeah, 4 years went by and she had never even laid eyes on him until now. The audience is like, what? And even the judge is surprised. The family drama is starting to heat up, but there's definitely more to come.
I didn't even know who Malachi was. Yesterday was the first time I even touched that child.
So yesterday was the first time you ever seen him in person?
Not until yesterday.
In 4 years?
In 4 years. I never knew nothing about him.
Oh, that's precious. So, Miss Laster, I don't get it. You have the 2 other children.
This part's got all the feels. Ms. Laster talks about how losing Travis really messed her up. It was the first time someone really cared about her, and it hurt so bad that she just couldn't deal with it. So instead of handling the whole paternity thing, she kind of just ignored it. But hang on, things are about to get a little more complicated.
That was the first time I ever been with somebody that actually cared about. That was the first time, I met them and they loved me. I've lived with Miss Dolores too. I left it alone and left it unnoticed. And it was too late. We didn't have, Florida, you can only do but so much. It's not many things that you can go through to try to get DNA done.
Well, things just took a turn. Ms. Laster drops a bombshell. She was with someone else during the same time she could have gotten pregnant. Judge Lake's like, wait, what? And suddenly, it's not so clear who the dad might be. Now we've got 2 potential dads in the picture, and this whole thing just got a lot messier.
You were also with someone else during that time, am I correct?
Well, yeah, but the reason I can say for sure that it is his, not only did Malachi started stuttering first, so it kind of threw me for a loop because none of my children had speech impediments. Is this normal? Have Travis had these issues in the past? And she was like, yeah, he used to stutter when he was a kid.
And here's where it gets weird. Ms. Laster says Malachi was tested alongside her other kids, and the results said the other guy was 99.9%, not the dad. Judge Lake is all kinds of confused because, that's not how DNA tests are supposed to work. Now the whole courtroom is scratching their heads, wondering if these results even make sense. Let's just say things are about to get cleared up by someone who actually knows what's going on.
The other man, we had some things going on for us, court issues with our children, with our 2 children. So I had Malachi DNA tested too, which came out to be 99.9% not his. So that's how I know for sure he's not the other guy.
99.9% not his?
Yes.
Okay, this part is hilarious. Dr. Baird, the DNA expert, comes in and basically tells Ms. Laster, yeah, that's not how DNA results are supposed to work. He explains that if someone's not the dad, it should just say 0%. None of this 99.9% stuff. The judge is like, thank you, finally some sense. And now everyone's waiting for the real results. But buckle up, because the truth is about to hit hard.
The typical way to express an exclusion of paternity is to say that the alleged father has a probability of paternity of 0%. So you're basically asked to report the probability of paternity when you do a test. It'll either be 99.9% or higher. I've never heard a result the way that you've read it before.
Here's where everyone's jaws hit the floor. The first DNA test results come in, and bam.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Dolores Smith and Malachi Laster is 0.00%. You are not related.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Okay, things got real messy right from the start. Rashawn Clay Edmond, the mother of DeAnthony, steps into court and drops a bomb, saying Ms. Rudolph is lying about her son being the father of her 2-year-old daughter. Ms. Edmond is straight up accusing Ms. Rudolph of just wanting money, and she says she's got receipts that another dude is the real dad. Buckle up, because this is just the beginning of the drama train that's about to hit.
Ms. Clay Edmond, you are in court on behalf of your son DeAnthony, who tragically died in a car accident. You want to prove that he is not the biological father of the defendant's 2-year-old daughter, Debria. You say Ms. Rudolph is trying to swindle money from the family, and you have evidence to prove another man is the father.
Oh boy, here we go again. This is getting wild. Ms. Edmond reveals that after she first accepted Dabria as her son's kid, random people started blowing up her phone saying, nope, there's another guy who's actually the dad. Make things crazier. She finds out that this mystery guy is even listed on the birth certificate. Now the whole situation is getting messier than spaghetti dropped on a carpet, and trust me, it's only gonna get juicier.
Yes, I wanted to accept the baby because she said this was my son, baby. I'm hurting. Anything connected to him, I wanted to be a part of. That's when we started getting messages from different people saying that she was doing this for money, that it was another young man named on the birth certificate, and the little baby had another man's name.
And just when you thought things couldn't get more chaotic, boom, another plot twist. Ms. Edmond drops a bombshell, saying this other guy straight up told her that Ms. Rudolph promised him he was the dad before he even signed the birth certificate. So now there's major confusion about who the real dad is, and it's looking more complicated than a math test on a Monday morning. But don't worry, we're about to dive even deeper into this drama.
I heard a conversation that we was all on the three-way, and he's telling me about her telling him she knew 100% sure he was the father before he signed the birth certificate.
So another man said he was the biological father of Dabria.
Yes.
And your son was not. And he signed the birth certificate.
Yes.
Seriously, twists keep coming like they're never gonna stop. The birth certificate is shown to the court, and surprise, surprise, there's another guy's name listed as the father. This totally shakes Ms. Edmond's argument, giving her even more reasons to believe DeAnthony isn't the dad. But just when you think you figured it all out, the DNA test is on deck, and you know that's gonna flip everything upside down.
This is the birth certificate for Dabria Taylor Rudolph.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there is another man listed. So did you think about putting DeAnthony's name on the birth certificate since you believe he was truly the biological father, Miss Rudolph?
I was gonna take that off and put nobody up there.
And I also got a picture of the other guy that's supposed to be listed on the birth certificate.
He has a whole bunch of pictures of her.
All right, folks, here's where things get really real. The DNA test results are in, and it's about to get seriously awkward.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Clay Edmond and Dabria Rudolph is 99.98%.
Thank you.
Ms. McMahon and Ms. Wilridge are back in court for round 2. Last time, they found out their dad had a secret affair, and their friend turned out to be their sister. Now they think their dad might have had another affair, and guess what? Yep, another secret sibling might be in the mix.
Ms. McMahon and Ms. Wildridge, you learned your deceased dad had kept a secret from you your entire life. It turns out that he had cheated on your mother, and you discovered that a good friend of yours was actually your biological sister.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today, you're back because you say your father may have had an affair with yet another woman.
Correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Swan says she had an affair with the sister's dad, knowing he was married. And to make it even crazier, she thinks her son, Mr. Williams, is their brother. Oh, and don't worry, he's about to show up soon to shake things up.
Miss Swan, you're the woman who claims to have had an affair with their father. You admit that you kept it a secret because he was a married man. You believe your son was a result of that relationship, and he is indeed their brother. Your son, Mr. Williams, is waiting outside of the courtroom, and we'll meet him in just a moment.
Ms. McMahon remembers seeing a photo of a boy in 1999 people said was her brother. She didn't think he looked like her, so she brushed it off. But fast forward to 2001, and this dude shows up at her mom's house claiming to be their dad's son. Awkward much?
Well, back in 1999, I was shown a picture. I was at someone that we considered a cousin because we were so close growing up. I was told that it was my brother. I looked at the picture, but I didn't see any resemblance. So at that time, I just passed it off as something that they were trying to say, and I never thought about it again.
Ms. Wilridge tells the court about the day this guy showed up, saying he was their dad's son. She wasn't convinced, though, said he didn't look anything like her dad, so she let it go. Now, all these years later, she's wondering if she missed something big.
A few days before we did see him, my sister had said, well, we think possibly this guy could be your brother's. And he met my oldest sister and my mom, and I kind of hung in the back a little bit, and then I went out and I greeted him. When I first seen him, he didn't have any similarities of my father. So they sat and we talked a while in the living room and we had a little conversation and he left.
Mrs. Swan stands there saying she knew the guy was married, but didn't care. The crowd's not having it, and the whole room goes off when she says she didn't feel bad about it at all. It's like everyone's yelling, really? No guilt at all?
You did have a relationship with their father. Did you know he was married?
Yes, Your Honor. He told me he was married.
But why would you still mess with a married man? Why would you do that?
And not only was he a married man, but you were also messing with a guy that you knew was messing with your neighbor.
friend.
You know, and that was just like sleeping behind with a married man. And why would you do such a thing as being a woman?
Mrs. Swan says the affair lasted about 1.5 years. But hold up, there were rumors it went on for years. Sisters are frustrated, and who can blame them? They just want to know the truth already.
It was a long time before we had a relationship. I say about a month passed.
Do you feel bad for what you've done to a family, a wife, a good wife who cooked, cleaned, took care of her kids? Feel any remorse for what you've done?
Knowing that he was married.
That part didn't even bother me.
And you was of age where it should have, you know, you're not with a child.
You just low and dirty and trifling.
Ms. Swan says she saw him right before he passed away. He left her house and said, "I'll see you in heaven," which, yikes, was the last thing he ever said to her. When she found out he died that night, could feel the whole courtroom freeze.
Was the last time you saw him till when he passed away?
That night.
That night?
Because that night when he left my house, a friend of mine came by and told me he was dead.
Well, he didn't die at night.
My dad was found deceased 5:30 in the morning. My dad had passed. I think it came to him to where he was emotionally drained.
Mr. Williams enters the courtroom, and the first thing he mentions is his childhood memory of a green van. The sisters confirm it. That was definitely their dad's van. And now everyone's thinking, okay, this might actually be happening. It's one of those moments where everyone's connecting the dots at the same time.
Had you ever had an opportunity to meet this man?
I remember certain things of him, but I don't remember too much. I remember the van that he had, and I remember riding in this van. And
all his vehicles, that was one of his things. He used to build things, very handy person. So that van, that big green van, you're right.
Yes.
When you look at Mr. Williams, do you see your father?
Yes.
Ms. Swan says he never showed her son a picture of the man who could be his father. The sisters are mad, like really mad, because this guy never got to know his dad and had no idea what he even looked like. All those lost years hit them hard, and it's clear everyone's feeling the weight of the secrets.
Have you ever seen a picture of him?
No, man.
You've never, in 32 years, you've never in 32 years seen a picture of your father.
You robbed him. You really did.
Yes, I did, because I didn't have no pictures of him, and that was my fault, because on one of my faults, because I didn't take no picture of him, but he never did like taking no pictures.
The results are finally in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court that you are half siblings.
Now he needs to go get his name changed. He's a junior.
Ms. Wilson comes in and says her son passed away just a month ago, and suddenly a bunch of women started showing up claiming he fathered their kids. Ms. Wilson is not buying it though, and thinks they just want to get their hands on Social Security money. Oh, and by the way, 2 of the women, Ms. Felix and Ms. Brown, are totally sure that her son is the dad of their kids, and they're ready to fight for those benefits.
Ms. Wilson, your son died tragically just 1 month ago.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that since then, a flood of women have come forward with claims that he fathered their children. You believe they are trying to pin their children on your son in an effort to get Social Security benefits. You both state that you are 100% that Mrs. Wilson's deceased son, Mr. Marquette Dames, is the biological father of your children.
Ms. Wilson is clearly heartbroken as she talks about losing her son, who was tragically shot. She's been having a tough time with the grief, and now, on top of that, she's got all these women coming forward claiming to have his kids. All she wants is to know the truth about who his kids are, so she can finally get some closure.
When they took him, they took a part of me too. They ripped my heart out. I just buried him July 30th. It's not easy for me as a mom. I just want to know who's his kids, who's not his kids, because everybody's talking about they got kids.
How many women?
It's 11 people. We're talking 11 kids here. So
oh my goodness.
It's not just these 2 young ladies, you know.
Ms. Felix starts by explaining how Marquette, the deceased, was super involved in her pregnancy and their child's life. He went to doctor's appointments, made sure she had what she needed, and even helped name their daughter. Ms. Felix can't figure out why Ms. Wilson Wilson is now questioning the paternity when she was there the whole time, helping out and being part of the family.
He was the one providing me the food. He went to every doctor's appointment. He was there throughout the whole thing. She also knew about it.
So are you wondering now why she's questioning the paternity?
Yes, I am. I don't understand why someone do all the things you did for my daughter and then be questioning her paternity.
What kind of things did she do?
She was in our wedding. She helped me name my daughter. She was there when I had my daughter.
Ms. Wilson drops a bombshell, revealing that her son actually had doubts about being the father of a bunch of these kids before he died. Apparently, he told her not to say anything, but now she feels like she has to come clean. And on top of that, she even delayed her son's funeral for DNA testing to figure out who his real kids are.
Before he even got buried in the ground, called the Social Security office to get claims. He wasn't even in the ground. Funeral arrangements wasn't even ready. I didn't hold it against him at all. Because guess what? At the end of the day, it's my child. It ain't their child. They didn't care about my grief at that present time because it was all about the money to them. It's not all about him.
Ms. Felix straight up defends herself, saying she had no clue there were rules about waiting until someone's buried to file for Social Security. Her main thing was making sure her child got the financial support they deserve, so she doesn't get why Ms. Wilson is so upset. Ms. Felix even throws a little shade like, what's the problem? If I don't claim the money, you're gonna get it or something?
I didn't hear anything about any doubt until this vigil happened. I highly doubt that he actually told them that, but even though, on the obituary that they did, they completely changed all the kids' names.
Evidence
you gave them all different names, but I don't believe there was any doubt until that boy passed away. I don't believe he told them that. I think she's doubting him all because of the money. Honestly.
She explains how she and Marquette got together, moved quickly into a relationship, and how he totally accepted that she was pregnant. He was there when she went into labor and even put his name on the birth certificate, never doubting that Josiah was his kid. Oh, and she says he gave Josiah his last name. So yeah, she's pretty confident about the whole thing.
I was in a relationship with him. We moved pretty quickly, but we indeed were in a relationship. He claimed it, so we moved forward. Like I said, he came to me about me being pregnant, so with the bug being planted in my ear, I went ahead, set the appointment. Him and his family member took me to the appointment, and I found out I was pregnant July 15th. He took and rolled with it. He never questioned, never doubted.
The DNA results for Ms. Felix's child, Marquelia, are finally revealed.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dame is the father.
Sorry about that, Louis.
Okay, buckle up, because this starts off wild right away. Mr. Slaughter gets interviewed about his history with Ms. Johnson, and wow, the guy seems pretty confused. He says he found out just 2 years ago that he might be Damien's dad, but he's not buying it. He's like, nope, the kid doesn't even look like me. But then Ms. Johnson jumps in. Actually, I told you when Damien was 13. Oh boy, this is getting messy real fast. And guess what? This is just the beginning of the drama.
So Mr. Slaughter was not able to be in court today. However, the court was able to locate him and ask him a couple of questions. What was the nature of your relationship with Ms. Johnson, and how did you find out about Damien?
We met through a mutual friend. I know might have been sometime in the early 90s.
Things start to heat up when Damien, who's just done with all the confusion, pours out his feelings. He's like, listen, I don't care if I'm 22 or 13, I deserve to know who my dad is. It's clear that he's fed up with his mom handling this by herself, and he just wants someone to step up already. You can feel how tired he is of this whole mystery, and honestly, can you blame him? But hey, the fireworks aren't over yet. Trust me, what's coming next makes this even crazier.
We didn't have the money. Like, my mom was doing everything by herself. It's ridiculous. Like, I may be 22 now, just like everybody else. Everybody else wants to know who their dad is. It shouldn't matter because I'm 22. Shouldn't matter if I'm 13, 6, or 7. My mom's being a mom and she's trying to figure this out. So these men just need to step up and help her out. She can't do it by herself. She can't. It's impossible. She didn't make me by herself.
Now here's where it gets interesting. Mr. Slaughter, the guy who's all not my kid, starts backpedaling and says, well, if it turns out I am the dad, I'll totally be there for him. Damien, probably thinking, where was this energy before? Still appreciates it. He just wants someone to call dad at this point, which, yeah, makes total sense. But just when you think this might calm down, nope. Things are about to get even messier. You won't believe what's coming next.
If you're proven to be Mr. Johnson's father, what are your hopes for the future?
If I am proven to be Mr. Johnson's father, I'm gonna definitely, be a good role model to him, a mentor, do all type of stuff that a dad is supposed to do for a up-and-coming young man. I know it's very important for a young man to have a father in his life, and it's never too late.
You thought 5 possible dads was a lot? Nah. Ms. Johnson decides to up the ante and says, surprise, there's a 6th guy. That's right, we've got a brand new contestant, Mr. Harmon, who had no clue he was even in the running. She admits they didn't exactly have a deep relationship. It was more of a, let's hang out and, kind of thing. Mr. Harmon walks into the courtroom, and you can practically hear everyone thinking, what now? But oh, don't blink, because Mr. Harmon's about to drop his own truth bomb.
We have 5 potential fathers.
There's another one.
You said there's another one.
Yeah.
So that is potential father number 6.
Yes.
And who is this man?
Mr. Harmon. We hung out a couple times and had a couple sexual encounters, and that was it. There was nothing whatsoever.
So here's Mr. Harmon, and his face says it all. He just found out about this whole paternity thing like 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks! He's been friends with Ms. Johnson this whole time and had no idea that he might be the dad. You've got a feel for the guy. He's like, wait, what? I have other kids, so this can't be right, can it? But nope, the plot just keeps getting juicier. Next up, we've got Damien spilling his feelings in a way that'll make your heart ache, even if you've got a heart of stone.
When is the first time you heard Damien could potentially be your biological son?
4 weeks ago.
So Miss Johnson reached out to you?
Well, we're friends. We're still friends.
Oh, wow. So you have been friends and you've seen Damien.
Yes. I have other kids, but I don't think that he's mine.
Okay, get the tissues, because Damien goes from chill to super emotional real quick. He's tearing up, saying how he feels like he's not as good as everyone else, because they all have dads and he doesn't. I mean, ouch. Judge Lake isn't having any of that though, and she jumps in to remind him how awesome he is. It's a super sweet moment, but let's not get too cozy, because the DNA results are right around the corner, and things are about to get wild again.
I feel like I'm not as good as everybody else because they all got dads.
Oh.
Feels
Just
like
break
that.
my heart. Don't you ever feel like that. You are worth it. You are just as good. That's why we're here for you, because you are important and worth it. And whether we get the answer today or not, still are worth it.
Here we go, time for the results, and let me tell you, these are some plot-twisting results. First up, Mr. Harmon, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Miss Lethea Murray and Damien Johnson is 0.00%. You are not related.
Oh man, things kicked off in a wild way, with Mr. Walker dropping some major drama right out of the gate. Mr. Walker says Miss DeVos had him believing he was the father of her son, Kaimani, for a whole year. But then, 6 months ago, she hit him with a bombshell and said he wasn't the dad, plus she wouldn't let him see the kid anymore. What happens next is seriously gonna mess with your mind. Just wait.
Mr. Walker, you claim the defendant led you to believe you fathered her son, Kamani, for an entire year, but just 6 months ago told you you are not father and refuses to let you see him. You are here to prove that Kamani is your biological son.
This part really made my jaw drop. Miss DeVos just casually drops that she regrets a huge life decision. She says she feels bad for letting Mr. Walker sign the birth certificate, especially since she now believes he's not even Kaimani's biological dad. All she wants now is to fix the mistake and take his name off that paper. But hold up. What she says about why she stayed quiet is totally gonna blow your mind.
I regret letting him sign the birth certificate. I feel bad because I let him do it, but I just wanted to get the truth out today and just figure out he's not the father so I can get him off the birth certificate.
And you feel that you have regret for allowing him to sign this birth certificate?
Yes.
But Mr. Walker, you are certain this is your biological child?
Yes, Your Honor, this is my son right here.
Okay, things got next level crazy when Miss DeVos spilled the beans about another guy being in the picture. She admits that during the time Kaimani was conceived, she was with someone else too. Now she thinks that guy is probably the real dad. But Mr. Walker was the one she told from the start. The real kicker comes when you hear how Mr. Walker reacts to finding out.
Who were you with then?
I was with him, someone else.
Okay, so that's why we're here. So you admit you were also intimate with another person during the window of conception. When you find out she's pregnant, what do you do?
When I find out that she's pregnant, I really just start to prepare myself mentally, and I also was just looking for work. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was just really trying to just prepare myself for everything.
This part hit hard. Mr. Walker whipped out the receipts, literally. He shows the court the birth certificate where he's listed as the father, explaining that he was there for the whole pregnancy, living with Miss DeVos, and totally believing the baby was his dedication communication was real, and you could feel how much he cared. But buckle up, because Miss DeVost's next words are gonna take you for a spin.
What do you have there?
I actually have the birth certificate that I signed when he was first born.
I'd like to see that. And so you were there.
Yes,
She
Your Honor.
told you it was your child and you lived up to what you were supposed to do. This is the birth certificate for Kimani Dominique DeVos Walker. He has your last name and you are listed as father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Willingly and voluntarily.
Yes, Your Honor.
This moment really hit deep. Miss DeVost opens up about the huge weight she was carrying the whole time. She explains that growing up in foster care made her afraid, and that's why she didn't tell Mr. Walker about the other guy. She says she felt safe with him by her side during the pregnancy, even though she wasn't sure who the real dad was. And then, what she admits next really changes the whole vibe.
I just never wanted to tell him that it wasn't his because I knew the situation he'd been through, and it was just hard. I didn't want to go through it alone. When he stepped up to being here, got 2 jobs, he was a big baby. I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't really do nothing. When he stepped up, I just felt like, okay, he's doing the right thing, and maybe he might be the father. I don't know. He just...
Oh.
You won't believe this part. Miss DeVos just straight up admits why she picked Mr. Walker to be the dad, even though the other guy offered to help. She tells the court that when she told the real possible dad, he said he'd take responsibility if the baby was his. But since Mr. Walker was already there and ready to step up, she just went with him instead. The heartbreak really starts to set in after this, and trust me, it's not getting any easier to watch.
His response was like no other. It was just, okay, if it's mine, I'll take care of it.
And so why is it you chose Mr. Walker instead of him? If he said I'd take care of the child too.
My ex was in another city. He was in the same city as me. So if he's here, he will help. He's the father.
This moment was ice cold. During a text argument, Miss DeVost flat out tells Mr. Walker that Kaimani isn't his son. The look on Mr. Walker's face says it all. He's been there for this kid, only to find out she's been hiding the truth. The judge isn't having any of it either and calls Miss DeVost out for the emotional wreckage she's caused. And if you thought this was bad, just wait until those DNA results come in.
Ms. DeVos, you write back, he's not your son. So as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. DeVos, you respond, you're not his father. You ruined your own life. Wow. You cold-blooded because you told him he was the biological father.
Yes, I did. He had the option if he wanted to be there or not. I didn't.
Here it is, the gut punch we were all waiting for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Walker, you are not the father.
I'm sorry.
Since 1989. We out and about. She said, look, look at your father on the poster. I looks up. It's a wanted poster for child support for $24,000.
This DNA test proves that I am Elena's father. I will fight for my full custody rights.
And I will fight you for custody.
There's no way he is getting my daughter.
So when a woman says to you, I want to have your baby, and you say, no, I really don't want you to, and you're still having sex without protecting yourself, you're setting yourself up.
That's my first time. So I said, oh, that's him? Yeah, that's him. We took down the poster board.
Oh my
This the only picture I got of my father is him on $24,000.
Mr. Forrest, you're convinced you're Elena.
I am or he is.
I'm saying, are you convinced you're her biological father?
There's a possibility, yes, but I don't know for 100%.
Only had sex with Iris 5 times.
That's a lie. You've never used
Your
a
Honor.
condom now with the girls that he's cheating on me with.
Can you even handle this? Judge Lake kicks things off and Mr. Webb is already throwing curveballs, saying he's been camping out for 2 years just to tell everyone he might be the daddy, not the other guy. It's like starting a movie right at the good part. Buckle up, because the roller coaster is just getting started.
Mr. Webb, you have been waiting 2 years for this day. You claim the defendant, Mrs. Forrest, left you for dead only to find out once you got out of a coma that she was pregnant and that the baby could be yours or her husband.
Hold on to your popcorn, folks. Ms. Forrest spills the beans that she jumped ship to Mr. Webb and her hubby was in a pickle. And oops, no raincoat. This is where the plot thickens with baby daddy mysteries. You won't believe the can of worms that's about to open next.
My husband got in some trouble and I ended up meeting Mr. Webb through one of my friends. We hit it off. I ended up leaving Mr. Forrest for Mr. Webb.
So you began a sexual relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
And were you using protection at the time?
No, Your Honor.
Just when you think it's chill, boom, plot twist. After Mr. Webb wakes up from a coma, he finds out Ms. Forrest might be having his mini-me. The tea is piping hot here, folks. As the saga of Who's the Daddy ramps up big time, get ready, because this soap opera's got nothing on the next scene.
As soon as I got out the hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. I heard it from my aunt first. She had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
So that means she was admitting that she also had slept with other people?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think think the other person was just her husband?
At the time, no, Your Honor.
Yikes! Get a load of this mess. They're trying to match the baby timeline with Mr. Webb's hospital drama. It's like doing math homework that no one understands. It's crucial, because it might just prove Mr. Webb's the real dad. Hang on, because the truth bomb coming next is huge.
That is a statement from my mom, and he was there the very next morning in a motel with her.
Is that true?
We were already broke up. We've done called it quits. We done
And
called everything.
me and my wife had already
Your Honor.
started talking back about getting back together. Well, after they done broke up like 3 days before he ever went to the hospital.
No, Your Honor.
And now you have reconciled with your husband.
But I tried to see him. His mother would not let me see him.
You thought it couldn't get any crazier, right? Wrong. Ms. Forrest admits she's been playing keep away with the baby because she thinks Mr. Webb might pull a fast one and run. Talk about drama. And just when you think it's all out in the open, the next part dials up the cray-cray.
Elena is 2 years old, and you have still not held this baby? Never one time?
No, Your Honor.
I'm afraid that if he does get to see my daughter, that he can run off with her, and
Because he's
there's
done
nothing I can do to get
So
her
you
back.
admit that you've been blocking Mr. Webb from seeing Elena?
Yes, Your Honor.
Here it comes, the showdown at the OK Corral. Both Mr. Webb and Mr. Forrest are staking their claim before the big DNA reveal. They're so fired up, you'd think they were auctioning off a superhero cape. Watch out, because the bombshell they're about to drop will make your head spin.
This DNA test proves that I am Elena's father. I will fight for my full custody rights.
and I will fight you for custody.
There's no way he is getting my daughter.
No, this is our child, not yours.
Mr. Forrest, you're convinced you're
Well, whether
Elena's
I am or he is.
I'm saying, are you convinced you're her biological father?
There's a possibility, yes, but I don't know for 100%.
And here's the big reveal.
It has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Webb.
Guess what just popped up? Ms. Tucker spills the beans about a huge whoopsie from 10 years ago when she found out Mr. Hunter might actually be her real dad, not the guy she thought was. She's in court to figure out the truth, hoping to end the big question mark hanging over her head. Get ready, because the next part is a real doozy.
Miss Tucker, you believed another man was your dad until a bomb was dropped on you 10 years ago when your mother admitted that the defendant is your biological father. You opened your case to prove to Mr. Hunter that he is your dad.
Hold the phone. Mr. Hunter isn't so sure he's Ms. Tucker's dad and explains why he's been keeping his distance. He heard a different story from her mom way back when that made him think he wasn't the father. Stick around, it's about to get even juicier.
Mr. Hunter, you admit you have distanced yourself from the plaintiff because you have serious doubts you are her father. Miss Tucker, you admit you initially lied to your daughter, but claim you and Mr. Hunter have always known that he is her father.
Talk about a wild ride. Ms. Tucker shares her bumpy journey trying to get Mr. Hunter to take a DNA test, which he skipped out on. Not knowing if he's her dad has been a real headache, and she's had enough. Watch out, because what comes next will make your jaw drop.
A few years, I have been trying to get Charles to do a DNA test with me twice. I scheduled a test, he didn't show up, and it's just a lot of confusion in my own mind, and it's very traumatic to me. I'm trying to figure out if he's my father or not to close this chapter in my life. So to find out that someone else could be my father, it's really had an effect on me.
You won't believe this. Ms. Tucker's mom finally comes clean about fibbing over who her real dad is, trying to keep her away from Mr. Hunter, who she thought was bad news. Her big reveal shows just how tangled this whole mess is. The surprises aren't stopping here. More shockers to come.
I told her that someone else was her father at the time in order to protect her. I felt like Mr. Hunter was not a good role model.
Someone else was her father. What, she had a better chance of having a father in her life? What was your reasoning?
No, Your Honor, that's not the reason why. I was dating this guy, but it was basically over.
Grab some tissues. Ms. Tucker tells a tearjerker about finding out the man she called dad might not be her bio dad after all. This bombshell dropped while she was still playing with dolls and has been bugging her ever since. The emotional roller coaster is just picking up speed, so stay tuned.
I was in the 5th grade and his sister had came and got me one weekend like she always did. They were on the phone and I was over listening to their conversation with her telling him that he needed
to come around and he needed to meet me. She believed that I was his daughter, but I wanted to know, you know, where was he? Why was he not around? And that's when he told me that my mom was not being honest with me.
Get this, while hanging out, someone tells Ms. Tucker she looks just like her dad, but not the guy she thought. Her mom calls it nonsense, but the plot thick. There's more confusion around the corner, and it's a real head scratcher.
I was in the 7th grade, so I was at a store. There's a woman who knows them both. Told me, she said, you look just like your dad. And so I go, oh, you know my dad? And I said his name. And she goes, that's not your dad. And that's when she said Mr. Hunter's name. And that was the first I have ever heard of him. So I went home and I did tell my mom what she said, but my mom just said she was lying.
Oh boy, here we go. Mr. Hunter talks about how he moved on with his life after Ms. Tucker's mom told him the baby wasn't his. He packed up and didn't look back for years until rumors brought him right back. The next bit is a real cliffhanger, so don't go anywhere.
She told me she was pregnant. She said the baby wasn't mine. I left and I got my life together. And I stayed gone for 15, 16 years. I came back to North Carolina hearing rumors that she was mine. So what am I supposed to do when someone tells me I'm not the father? I move on with my life.
Can you believe it? Mr. Hunter shows up at Ms. Tucker's school one day, hinting he might be her dad after all. This surprise visit stirs up a whole pot of mixed feelings and adds more mystery to the story. Buckle up, because the saga continues, and it's a wild one.
So, Mr. Hunter, did you show up at the school and tell Miss Tucker I'm your father?
I vaguely remember that conversation when she was at that school, and it could have been like a jokingly type of thing when I said
No, you don't joke. Pull a child
been
out
your
of school
father.
and then tell him a joke that I think I'm your father. So that's not gonna fly with me. Come with some new testimony that makes sense.
Are you ready for this? The moment of truth arrives with the DNA results. And guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hunter, you are not the father.
All right, folks, buckle up. Mr. Brooks calls his ex, Miss Gooley, into paternity court to show the world he's the dad of her 18-year-old son, Mr. McDonald. He's totally sure he's the dad because he was there from the get-go. Get ready, because this ride just gets wilder.
Mr. Brooks, you've summoned your ex-girlfriend, Ms. Gooley, to paternity court to prove that you are the father of her 18-year-old son, Mr. McDonald. Ms. Gooley, you admit you cheated on Mr. Brooks all those years ago and are here today to Mr. Brooks that he is not the father of your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Grab your popcorn. This part's a tearjerker. Mr. Brooks shares how he was there in the hospital, saw his baby come into the world, and knew right then he was the dad, and the baby calmed down hearing his voice. The feels are real, people. And oh boy, it's about to get even juicier.
Mr. Brooks, why do you believe Mr. McDonald is your son?
The day he was born, I took her to the hospital. I was there. I watched him cut her open. I watched him pull my baby out. I told the doctor and the nurse, give me my baby. And I said, E-man, this daddy. I'm here, baby. And he shot up, and at that run I knew he was my son from day one.
Things are getting spicy. In the hot seat, Miss Gooley admits their love wasn't exclusive. Yikes. This throws a big ol' wrench into Mr. Brooks' story. But hang tight, the next part's a doozy.
How long was that relationship?
10 years.
Was it a committed relationship?
No, Your Honor.
During the pregnancy, did you ever tell Mr. Brooks that he may not be biological father?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You allowed him to believe that he was Mr. McDonald's biological father the entire pregnancy?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Oh snap, it gets better. Turns out there was another dude hanging around Miss Gooley back in the day. And yup, they were more than just friends. This paternity puzzle just added another piece. Wait till you see what's up next.
He was just a friend, really. I mean, someone that was there for me when Mr. Brooks wasn't.
If you think he's your child's father, you obviously were having sexual relationship with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Without using any protection.
Yes, Your Honor.
When she told you she was pregnant, there was no doubt in your mind that you were the father?
No, one of the greatest days of my life when she told me she was pregnant. I just wanted to be a great father.
Get ready for a heart melter. Mr. Brooks has been holding onto photos of Mr. McDonald for years, believing deep down he's the dad. He's got the pics to prove his love, but Miss Gooley's nowhere in them. Stick around, the emotional roller coaster ain't over.
And I got pictures. Been having these pictures with me for 17 years. She don't have none. Matter of fact, I got about 60 pictures, and she's not in none of them.
These are pictures you carried for 17 years,
yes,
believing that you are Mr. McDonald's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So at some point, you say he was taken away from you.
This part's a real tearjerker. Picture this. Cops show up to take the kiddo away, and Mr. Brooks remembers the day like it was yesterday. It's a tough scene, folks, but don't go anywhere. The twists keep coming.
I remember that day just good, January the 23rd, because she called me, told me, get the kid kids out the house. I said, for what? I said, they finna go to my cousin anyway. Police car pulled up and defact. They told me they come to get the kids.
They came and got the kids in the first place because Fred, Mr. Brooks, is the one that called defacts on me because he was...
That's my family.
He
Why am I break my own family up
wanted to take
for?
my kids away from me. That's why defacts was called.
Here's the big moment. Mr. McDonald himself gets on the stand. He's always thought Mr. Brooks was his dad because that's what everyone told him. The plot thickens. And guess what? There's a major reveal just around the corner.
Mr. Brooks states that he believes he's your biological father. Do you believe Mr. Brooks is your father?
Yes, ma'am. It was kind of nervous at the beginning, but as we sat down and talked during the visit, it kind of got okay, and then we just started talking ever since then.
And now, the moment of truth. The DNA results are in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brooks, you are his father.
All right! Thank you.
Guess what just dropped? Mr. Devin Hines is totally gobsmacked when his dad, Mr. William Hines, spills the beans that he might not actually be his real dad. This bombshell shook Devin big time because he's always thought William was his pops. Keep your eyes peeled for what's next.
Mr. Hines, just 2 weeks ago, you were shocked when the defendant revealed to you that he is not your biological father. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that he is, in fact, your father.
Yes, ma'am.
Hang on to your socks because they're about to get knocked off. Devin steps up and asks the court for a DNA test to clear up this dad drama once and for all. He's dead set on proving whether William, who's way behind on $20,000 in child support, really is his biological father. There's more juicy stuff just around the corner.
Defendant, Mr. Hines, you say you are currently behind more than $20,000 in child support, but claim to have evidence to prove you've always known the truth, that you are not the plaintiff's biological father, and the results will confirm that today.
Oh, snap. Did he really just say that? In a super tense courtroom moment, William starts doing impressions, hinting he's not sure if he's Devin's dad, which totally riles up everyone watching. This act cranks up the drama a notch, and boy, does it get wilder from here.
Well, as of 2 weeks ago, out of nowhere, he pops out, not even him. His girlfriend pops out and say, hey, won't you tell him about what his aunt said? Oh, she said you might not be mine.
You 36 years old.
Like, you know, so I kind of just blew it off, you know, like, okay, because we, you know, this, and went on with it. It kind of just died off.
Get ready for a tearjerker moment. Devin talks about the first time in forever he saw his dad's face on a wanted poster for owing a whopping $24,000 in child support. Yep, that's the pic he remembers his dad by. But hold your horses, because it gets even crazier.
Since 1989. We out and about. She said, look, look at your father on the poster. I looks up. It's a wanted poster for child support for $24,000. That's the picture that I seen of my father. That's my first time. So I said, oh, that's him? Yeah, that's him. We took down the poster board.
Oh, my God.
This is the only picture I got of my father is him on $24,000.
Oh,
this is so
terrible.
crazy that
You're not gonna believe this heartwarmer. Into the show, Devin shares how he tried super hard for 6 years to build a real deal father-son bond with William after they linked up in Houston. Despite the giant question mark hanging over them about being related and all, they got pretty tight. But wait, there's a twist coming up.
So when you get to Houston, you reach out.
I reach out.
And for 6 years, you all began to form a real father-son relationship.
anything that you could say of a father and son, we was there. But this man, in my opinion, is weak.
But you say you knew all along. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why is it you kept that secret?
Because when his mother...
Things are heating up. The chat turns to how this whole paternity question is messing with William's wallet. Turns out child support cash is getting yanked right out of his social security checks, making his money troubles even worse. You won't want to miss what's up next.
This is your evidence where you say they're still taking money because of the arrears that you owe child support.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to understand your doubt. Did you sign the birth certificate when Devin was born?
Yes, ma'am.
If you believe she was messing around, why would you sign his birth certificate?
Because I thought he was my child.
At that time, you did?
Yes, ma'am.
So what caused you to doubt?
Somebody told me.
Who?
Her sister.
Buckle up for the big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hines, you are the father.
day. You didn't see it.
Get ready for this wild ride. Mr. Connor starts off by saying a quick fling turned into 15 whole years of forking over cash for child support and even landed him in jail, all for a kid he's pretty sure isn't even his. He's super eager to get today's test results to clear his name once and for all. Buckle up, because the Wallaces are about to throw a curveball.
Mr. Connor, you say a one-time fling with the defendant turned into more than 15 years of child support payments and even jail time for a child you have never believed is yours. You need today's results to prove you are not her child father.
Oh boy, here comes the drama. Ms. Wallace and her husband are here to throw the book at Mr. Connor, insisting he's totally the dad and better keep the checks coming after today's test proves it. Get your popcorn ready, because the sparks are about to fly.
Ms. Wallace, you and your husband claim the plaintiff knows he is your son's biological father and want him to pay what he owes when the results prove it today. Mr. Wallace, you say you trust your mother, but acknowledge Mr. Connor's recent actions have given you doubt.
You're not gonna believe this. Mr. Connor spills the beans on how much he struggled because of these child support payments. He's talking jail time, being broke, and a ton of headaches. This story is just heating up, and you won't believe what's coming next.
It's caused a lot of problems, financially especially. It's times when I can't afford things. I've even been to jail. 2005, November the 5th until January 2006. There was no home for me to go to. I lost that. I was 36 years old. I had to start all over. It's making my character look real bad, Your Honor.
Things are getting spicy. Ms. Wallace accuses Mr. Connor of playing house with her for a year, which he totally denies. They're both getting super heated, and it's like watching a tennis match with words. Hang on to your seat, because there's more juicy stuff ahead.
Your Honor, he just wants off child support. For one, it was more than just a one-night fling.
You know Jeffrey isn't my child, and I have you on Facebook.
Well,
Doesn't
we have.
need child,
I'm 42
something
years
like that all
old, Your
of these
Honor.
years.
I raised my 3 kids by myself. You not one time knew what I had to struggle and go through by myself.
All right. Hold the phone. Mr. Connor claims their whole relationship was just a one-time deal that didn't even go all the way, which is a far cry from Ms. Wallace's story of a year-long romance. The plot thickens. Stick around. It's about to get even bumpier.
There wasn't a relationship. I met her through a family member. We came together one time, and up on penetration, she had a friend who told me, "Did you sleep with Wanda?" I said, "No, not really, sorta." Then I told her what happened. There was penetration. I told her the story, and then she said, "Well, I just wanted to tell you, she was pregnant already."
Whoa, plot twist. Ms. Wallace talks about how she found out she was preggers and told Mr. Connor, who swears he never got the memo. The confusion is real. This tale is turning into a real head scratcher, and you'll want to hear what happens next.
And he did know how I found out that I was pregnant. I got sick. My mom taking me to my doctor's appointment, and that's when I found out I was 2 months pregnant. And I called you and I told you. Back
never
then
told
we
me.
had papers. Shut your line butt up.
Hold on.
Okay. Back
me-
then we had papers.
You popped up with him
I
when he was
messaged him. Your Honor.
Mr. Connor, I'm going to give you a chance to respond.
Guess what? Mr. Connor thinks Ms. Wallace might have seen dollar signs because he was doing pretty well back then. He suggests maybe that's why she pinned the baby on him. The tea is piping hot, folks. Don't go anywhere. The courtroom is about to turn up the heat.
At the time, I was doing pretty good. So I had a little BMW. We were young. Couple of them. I was washing them. I say, all of a sudden, here come the child support. I think maybe she thought I had a little money as well.
I want to know when's the next time you saw.
I seen him when he was 5. He came to my mother's funeral, repast.
And you agree to that, Miss Wallace?
Yes, ma'am.
That happened.
And here's the big moment. Drum roll, please. They read out the DNA test results. And guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Connor, you are not the father.
I already knew it.
Buckle up, folks. At the start of the episode, Iris Moyet swings into court with a big claim against Mr. Lester, saying he's the daddy of her 3-month-old daughter, Nyla, and she wants some child support cash. Mr. Lester is all, no way, because they weren't exactly exclusive, and he thinks Iris might have other baby daddies. It's like a soap opera, and you just gotta see what happens next.
Ms. Moyet, you're here in court today to prove that Mr. Lester, a man who is 20 years older than you, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Nyla Moyet. Mr. Lester, you say that you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners her time of conception, so you are 100% certain that you are not the father of baby Nyla.
Here comes the money talk. Iris rolls out a list of baby expenses that add up to a whopping $109 for stuff like baby formula, diapers, and tiny clothes. Mr. Lester chimes in that he did buy a thing or two, but thinks Iris is exaggerating big time. Keep your eyes peeled. It gets juicier.
He's contributed
to 3 cases of diapers and some sleepers that's for a boy. You knew I had a girl. Why you coming in my house with boy clothes?
How much do you think he spent on your child thus far?
He spent maybe about $250 on Isla so far.
Do you have any receipts?
No, I don't.
Without any receipts or proof of what you say you spend, I can only go off of what the evidence is that's presented.
I understand.
Oh boy, did Iris just drop a bombshell? She admits she was trying to get pregnant on purpose, picking days to visit Mr. Lester when she thought it would definitely happen. Mr. Lester is like, hold up, I didn't sign up for more kids. Despite the risky business of their hookups. Gear up, the roller coaster's just getting started.
We still haven't done anything to prevent another one. He's actually
Ivana,
told me. I went to my
Ivana, we don't even have.
I went to my 6-week prenatal appointment and asked him, yes, they're gonna ask me, do I want birth control? Should I get on it? He told me no, because I'm gonna want another one soon.
Not only do we not have a sexual relationship now, we haven't since she told me she was pregnant.
Plot twist. Iris wants something serious, but Mr. Lester's just in it for the fun. They're totally on different pages about what they're doing together, which just adds more fuel to this fire. Don't touch that dial. It only gets wilder from here.
So when a woman says to you, I want to have your baby, and you say, no, I really don't want you to, and you're still having sex without protecting yourself, you're setting yourself up.
Only had sex with Iris 5 times. Oh.
That's a lie. You've never used
Your
a
Honor.
condom. Now, with the girls that he's cheating on me with.
Things are heating up. Mr. Lester's not buying the dad label just yet. He's got a whole PowerPoint showing why he thinks he's not the father, thanks to Iris's iffy stories and her mingling with other dudes. Strap in. The truth is about to drop.
Let me explain.
Mr. Lester and I have never had protected sex.
When Iris forced herself on me, did we not have protection? And when I
Whether
say
I forced myself on him or not, it was always unprotected.
And I just want to point out to you the percentages of older men having babies and how it declines.
Some more research. Mr. Lester, you're trying this case. You better go ahead.
Yeah. Time for a life lesson from Judge Lake. She's giving Iris a gentle nudge about choosing better partner, especially when kiddos are involved. This stuff's important, folks. It's about more than just the giggles. And guess what? The big reveal is just around the bend.
Do you hear what he's saying?
Yes, John.
I know when you say you had the love of an older man, it was filling a void you felt for not having the love of your father. You were saying that. But regardless of what this result is today, I don't want you running around behind him. Do you understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're better than that, and you deserve more than that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Get ready for the bombshell.
It has been determined by this, Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes! Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?